Hello there and welcome back to Prehistoric Kingdom and welcome back to Flintstone Valley. Today we are going to build this wonderful Mammoth Quarry and I'm going to talk you through what exactly this is all about. So let's get things started. Alright, welcome back everyone to Flintstone Valley and welcome back with a little bit of a new soundtrack. I hope you guys feel this more than the old one. I actually didn't feel the old soundtrack I chose for this series, so I switched to a bit more happy and restless soundtrack, and I really hope you guys can enjoy that for today's video. Now, we're going to talk about this specific habitat, and I will talk a little bit more about the terrain building in this game. Now, there are a couple of reasons to why I want to talk a bit more about this, but also we are going to talk about this specific habitat in terms of what the idea is behind, and I mean it's going to be pretty obvious that this is inspired by the Bedrock Quarry where Fred Flintstone is working with its Bronto, and yeah, this is a little notch to the original Bedrock Quarry, but obviously the style is completely different here. Now, speaking of the terrain building, I read a lot of comments that claim that this terrain tool and the tools in general are amongst the best out there. And I have to agree to a certain degree, but then again also disagree a little bit. Now, what I noticed during my build over here is that there is a huge lack of depth in this terrain building because you can't go beyond 90 degrees. In fact, you can't even achieve 90 degrees. It's somewhat like 82 degrees maximum or something. Simply because I'm not sure. Like, I have no idea why you can't pull out terrain to create like something like a cave or something. It just doesn't work, you know. I can only imagine that this is down to the way the engine is used. Maybe it has been set somewhere, I don't know. But yeah, it's a little bit of a setback in terms of what you're used to doing in Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo. But then again, we have to be fair enough. In comparison to all other games out there, this is by far the best that you can have when you don't look at the two Planet games. But for me personally, that was a little bit of a challenge to, you know, utilize the stone pieces in order to create the same effect that I would have in Planet Zoo, for example. But I'm very happy with the end result. I think there's a good way of doing it, and this is also down to the scaling and the recoloring option, which then again is a huge argument for the system over here. You can see now, as I'm really trying to bed that in, it really turns out to be looking cool. Now, the idea about this habitat and why I chose to go with the mammoth instead of, for example, the Brachiosaurus, which would be a lot closer to the Brontosaurus that is originally in the Flintstones, the one that works in the area. It's simply a design decision, to be honest. Like, there's no specific story behind that. I thought, you know, the mammoth and its appearance and its strengths that it carries would fit a lot better with the idea how I wanted to realize the quarry. And it's, you know, it's not really going to be super detailed, but I think all the pieces here really give a good idea of how I want to approach this overall project. So we have to imagine if this is going to be like really a real attempt to create a prehistoric park, you won't go too crazy into detail with a lot of nitty-gritty details, because the animals don't really care about the fact if you have too many little details on that wooden thing. It's just for the looks of things, and I just imagine to have that wooden support beam here, as in maybe stone has been carried over with this, you know, that you can use some ropes and kind of, you know, lift things up with this way. And I also decided to do a little bit of an Easter egg here. I took one of the cards and put that into this corner where all the stones tumbled down into the quarry, and I thought, you know, that would be like a little bit of a nice thing, as if stones have been broken from the top of the hill and then they just covered the little cart underneath the stones. I thought that was a good idea. You may have noticed that there are little cuts in here. I did a bit of, you know, trial and error off screen, in which I tried to make sure that the animals can't escape the habitat, and, you know, making sure that everything just works fine, and also did a bit of nature nature exploration, which kind of nature pieces I want to use. And I think this is the perfect moment to speak about potentially the best thing about this game in comparison to, well, basically every single other game that has a nature tool in it. I've never thought how insanely good it is to have the ability to use a brush, but the exact same pieces also as individual pieces. That is by far the best thing to have. And I know that, you know, with some mods you can have the same in Jurassic World Evolution, which is pretty good, but the increase of productivity when it comes to making these habitats is just ridiculous, you know, because by choosing the exact pieces that you want into the brush, just as in City Skylines, is just so helpful in order to create certain natural looking areas like little planters and whatever, you know, bit of a background, bit of foliage here and there, bit of it just ground coverage. It really does help tremendously in making things look really natural and overgrown, and it just kind of takes away the pain of creating a blueprint and then copying it all over. But then again, if you want to be very precise and put certain trees and certain bushes in a very specific position next to your pathway, for example, it is possible as well. And I love that so much. And that really gives me, I really thought that maybe the scaling option is the option that I will miss the most for Planet Zoo, but it turned out that it isn't. I seriously don't miss the scaling in Planet Zoo at all. It might sound strange, but the only thing I'm missing is the ability to mirror things with the help of the wonderful tool, but the scaling itself doesn't really help out that much. Like, there are a couple of little things I will talk about in a dedicated video, but I don't think it's a make or break for me, so it's good to have, it's nice to have, and please leave it in, but it's not really making the game tremendously better or worse with having it or not having it. I thought actually that this would have a bigger impact, but it doesn't. But the fact you have a brush and individual pieces for trees and stuff is just huge, and I really wish to have that in Planet Zoo as well. That, my friends, is such a beautiful thing in terms of creativity, and if it's not for Frontier, maybe a mod or so can help out at a certain point. I really do love that. By the way, speaking of I love something, this is something I really do love as well. I kind of make like a little glacier here by putting some of the stone pieces in and just recolor them. And I thought it's kind of a nice idea to have some, you know, eternal ice in here. Is that how you call that in English? Or like permanent ice? I don't know how exactly you want to call that, but you know, what you have like from the Ice Age. And I think, you know, regarding the mammoth, that would fit super well in here. In general, I'm super happy with the habitat. I'm going to talk you through what is going to happen next, and I really hope that my euphoria carried through a little bit. At the beginning, I was a bit hesitant to where the series is going, but I really do have a drive to go on here, because I have a super nice idea of how to continue afterwards. And yeah, it's going to be interesting how that is going to turn out. But I'm going to talk about this more in the real-time part. Let's quickly speak about this tower. I'm just making like a little watchtower here, which will be accessible by the guest. That, you know, it doesn't really make a huge difference, because the guests in the game are just, like, at this point in time, pretty much irrelevant. So it's nice that I can go here, but it doesn't really add much to my pleasure of enjoying the game. It's fine there in... yeah. That's it. Let's not speak much about this. But yeah, style-wise, I think it's a very straightforward design for this watchtower. There will be more designs in the future that are going to, you know, just go a bit more into the design of stone. I wanted to go a bit more in kind of a wooden style over here. But yeah, so I think it really starts to come together, and I'm super happy with how that turns out. For my liking, this habitat turned out pretty much exactly the way I wanted it in terms of size. It kind of seems a little too big at first glance, but when you look a little bit more into it, you will notice that this really feels exactly the way it needs to be. And speaking of which, mammoth used to roam around quite a bit, so that is why they do definitely need a huge habitat. And I think with the different layers, you grant them a very nice, very nice space to roam around, walk upwards, downwards, inclines, and stuff like that, to really keep them walking and keep them entertained in a way. So I think this is a really good way of doing the habitat. But you can see I'm just doing a couple little things here and there. And I really hope that this turns out exactly how you guys also envisioned this style to be looking. But yeah, that's it for the moment from me and the speed build. It's about time that we jump over into the real-time part, so I'm handing over to my real-time me, and Rudy from the past says goodbye now and enjoy the real-time part. Alright, so here we are in the real-time part, guys, and as you can see, this is the full habitat. There's a mammoth just storming down here, but yeah, you can actually tell that this is a pretty significant habitat when it comes to its size, but then again, I think it really looks very decent indeed. I love how the glacier idea worked out over here, and we've got a couple of little water splashy effects here as if it is melting, and then over here it's not, because it just like the idea is that it's melting through the stones here, and then this little water volume is fed by this wonderful glacier over here, and it tumbles even more down into this pond, while on this side the whole thing is going to be feeding into this little one, and then we don't have much more than this. You can see that we have a couple of lovely little things happening over here. So we are going upwards to this hill, and you can't really tell that much about what you are going to expect here, but you can definitely tell a couple of things. And the first thing you'll notice over here is that there is a line of sight given to you. So you see that fence over here, even it's supported, and you can see some mammoth really walking as if they are walking on a bridge or something. I really think that is a very striking visual for you to drag people's attention. So imagine you come into the park, and then you look to the right hand side, and just all goes up the hill, and you can see it also in line here with the mountains in the background, and then you just kind of merges into that one, and you've got this line just carries over, and you see some mammoth passing by. So then you are storming your way up the hill, so to say, and you can either just walk on, go on further into this area, but you can also obviously just take the stairs and go up. Let me just go up into the viewing area over here, and you can get much closer to this viewing over here. Obviously, it's not going to grant you the best view ever, but it's going to grant you a pretty decent view of this lowest level area for the mammoth. Look at that. There's just one coming around the corner now to show you exactly what I meant. So you've got a pretty decent view, but obviously you also have a pretty decent view down here into the Smilodon cave or Smilodon area, and just in general you've got a nice view over the wonderful valley, and this is a bit of the idea I had about this thing. And then if we carry on our little tour, we come to this spot where you have a wonderful view of the mammoth just behind this fence. I might change the fence design a little bit so that you can see a couple more things, maybe with some more security that is lower on the ground, and just some pillars and stuff to make the viewing better, the viewing experience. And then you've got the glass thing over here, which is just a placeholder for the moment. And we've got another viewing tower over here, which I think is also placed very decently, because you can see a lot of it. Look at the mammoth chilling in the water. Oh my god, this looks as if it's drowned. But yeah, you can see. Look at the view here with the mammoth. I think it really turns out that this view over here is pretty neat and pretty nice. And I really love how this all works together now. I also love the fact that you can see a bit of the cart over here, and yeah, just in general the looks into the valley. And then the other side, you've got a brilliant view across all of the valley. Now, as I promised, I will talk about what is going to happen next episode. And I kind of moved myself into a very dramatic situation, and that is I have to fill in this very hilly area. And what we're going to have here, and this is going to be very interesting, we are going to have a very intricate, I think Pachyrhinosaurus habitat that kind of, makes its way through here, and it's going to be like a very long sweeping habitat. And then the tour obviously is going to make its way up here as well. We're going to have like a little riverside restaurant down here, and we gotta have to connect all of the pathways. So it's going to be a very challenging next episode in terms of layouting this area, but I'm very confident that this is going to look superbly nice. Obviously you can imagine that this is going to be a bit more of a plaza area over here. The same goes down here with the restaurant, and the connection will be like kind of a staircase with a very nice sweeping turn that, also other people can access this area. But yeah, so that's it. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I am very happy with how it all turns out. I'm very happy with the mammoth habitat. I think it really carries the vibe I wanted to have. Please let me know if you think differently, but I'm just happy with the mammoth habitat. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you would help me out tremendously if you subscribe to the channel, because that will help me to go towards my big milestone of 100k, hopefully at the end of the year, who knows. But the next milestone is 70k. We are only a couple of hundreds away from it, and 7 is my most favorite number, so seeing the 7 for at least 10,000 subscribers is going to be absolutely cool. So that would be very amazing. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for your ongoing support. I really appreciate all of you. I hope you guys are going to have a wonderful weekend, and now stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the next one.